Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about an assignment, arbitrary score to. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I'm going to try and commit to doing at least one a week. Life's a bit hectic at the moment, so I'm just going to scale it right back, like no visuals or barely any visuals. You might see old mate Doodle pop up occasionally, but it's going to be pretty lightweight. I am like reviewing pretty much everything I listen to, and you can check those written reviews out in the newsletter. But I'll probably just keep these video reviews to, one a week and maybe one of the kind of more larger releases in the kind of rock category. So if you're interested in like reading or hearing my thoughts or just seeing the ratings of albums in other categories, check out the newsletter, which is linked down below. Otherwise, stick around and hopefully one time a week we'll come together and talk about some latest album. Today we're going to talk about Nine Inch Nails, the new album TRON ARES. So I've been publishing music commentary online in some form or other now for over 5 years. I find it really weird how in that time I've rarely been able to express my deep fandom for Nine Inch Nails. They're literally one of my all-time favorite artists or acts or projects or groups or whatever when you want to say. I mean, I suppose I do bring it up every time like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross release a new score, which is once or twice a year. But still, I find it kind of amusing that a project occupying so much of my musical rotation has comparatively few words dedicated to it in like a publication that I run. I have to be honest, I'd love it if this honestly kind of quite dull observation was introducing the review to like a true blue comeback Nine Inch Nails record. But even though this is labeled as such, I don't think what we have here is that. I think it's something else. I think the best description of this record is that it's like a collaboration. You could even stretch to say like a supergroup, right? One that brings together film score titans Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross and crossover industrial rockers Nine Inch Nails. Yes, obviously the combined four members of both of those projects are in fact the same two people. And yes, both projects have overlapped kind of many times in the past, but the cross pollination on Aries is far more intentional and specific than I think we've ever heard before. A casual fan of the Reznor Ross scores might be inclined to cite the overall heaviness of Aries as an example of what I'm talking about. But closer followers of the composer's work will know that, like, Watchmen, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, even Challengers to a degree has kind of shown us that heavier side of the duo before. And there are even now a sizable number of Reznor vocal performances scattered throughout the score library. So the inclusion of more of those on this album also isn't really what I'm talking about when I describe this kind of fusion of the two projects. And obviously anyone that's, ever listened to one Nails album will know that like instrumentals are kind of part and parcel of the project. So that's obviously not what I'm talking about either. Tron Ares, I think, sees Reznor and Ross combine their score and band categories in ways much deeper ways, that both does scratch like a nin-like itch and serves, I guess, the themes of the Tron movie. This changes everything, borrows the highly motivating electronics of the Social Network score. False Reality takes the terrifyingly anthemic build-ups from The Watchmen, while Who Wants to Live Forever and No Going Back pull from the kind of dreamlike, ethereal moments of soul. And there are some, external influences here too, ones that have been absorbed into the fabric of Reznor Ross and Nails for many years, but made quite explicit here. I Know You Can Feel It is a riff on Massive Attack's Exquisite Angel, while later in the album we get In the Image of 100% Expendable and Building Better Worlds, all of which feel pulled from the school of David Bowie, Brian Eno, and the original Tron composer Wendy Ray Fowler. Of course, if you're a Nails fan, you'll probably be grinding your teeth waiting for me to mention like the most obvious way that these two projects fuse the Reznor and Ross scores and Nails. It's under the surface from the very first track, but delivered explicitly on the anthemic single As Alive as You Need Me to Be. And then it's touched upon several times thereafter on like Infiltrator, Target Identified, New Directive, and Shadow of Me. I am, of course, referring to the long-standing Nails motif that originated on the Downward Spiral and has kind of risen to the surface many times over the 30 years since. This dark descending sequence of notes has over the years become like a signature It features most notably in the coda to Nail's biggest hit, Closer, is all over the album that track comes from, and would go on to feature in songs across records like The Fragile, With Teeth, and Hesitation Marks. TRON ARES, I think, features perhaps the most significant use of this motif on a project since the Downward Spiral. And while satisfying in a very, like, if you know, you know way, the motivations for its inclusion feel at best unclear and at worst a little cynical. And I say this without having seen the movie, okay? So perhaps someone will tell me that one of the characters finds themselves on a downward spiral of self-destruction reminiscent of said Nails album. But even so, I still find the incorporation of the classic theme more like fan service than substantive, almost like a way to cushion the disappointment for any fans expecting a true Nine Inch Nails LP, one that we haven't really seen since 2013's Hesitation Marks. Now, look, I'm saying all of this, pointing out all of these similarities, but I don't dislike this record. Far from it. I am a big fan of the catalogue of film scores that this duo has assembled over the past decade, and Tron Ares happens to reference many of my favorites. And equally, while I might be conscious of the emotional manipulation at play when Reznor and Ross use that downward spiral motif, it doesn't mean I'm not falling for it. I also think, though, it's probably worth calling out the pieces that do feel pretty original. Forked Reality, Damon Eyes, What Have You Done, A Question of Trust, and Nemesis all put forward some seriously dark industrial leaning electronica that feel pretty fresh for the Reznor Ross oeuvre, let alone for basically a Disney movie. And it's easy to miss those more original tracks over the hour-long runtime of the album, and of course, under all the fan servicey distractions, but they're there and they're great. My need for a new Nine Inch Nails album hasn't like been fully satisfied here, but seeing some life in the project gives me joy nonetheless. And while it's very self-referential, when your source material is that good, like it's hard to complain. I've so I'm gonna probably say feeling like a seven on this one. Um, Also, I mean, one thing is probably worth calling out, right, is that As Alive as You Need Me to Be is a banger. It kind of goes in this late era uh, pop bop segment that we've had for this kind of later period of Nails. So like Came Back Haunted, I think Less Than, and I think this, like those, that little trilogy of tracks, banger. And I think maybe all of them use the downward spiral motif. Anyway, so yeah, that's a little coda to my review. I'd say As Alive You Need Me to Be, it's a banger. It's worth getting this album for that track alone. But yeah, the album, I'd say give it a seven. That's it from me. Time to knock it on the head. Like I said, I will try and keep these coming. They're going to be more scaled back. Hopefully, you haven't missed the visuals too much. They just take a weirdly long amount of time, like annoyingly long. And I feel like as well, the easiest thing to do would be just to like fucking AI this whole thing, right? But that I'm sure we're about to get a deluge of all of that crap. So maybe just something a little bit more stripped back to basics. At least it's human. You might respond to. All very ironic for a Nine Inch Nails score about Tron. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, subscribe to the newsletter, which will be linked somewhere down there. And yeah, I'll chat to you soon. All right, mate. Cheers. Take care. Bye now you go. Bye.